Hey Trae, how are you, bro?
Yeah, good man, you?
Yeah, going well. Thanks for sharing your story, man. So how did you hear about Jesus?
How I heard about Jesus? Well, it probably wasn't until I was about a teenager that I actually experienced Christianity for the first time. My parents started going to a Pentecostal church, and so from there, being a teenager, they still try to take me along in that. So that was pretty much, the first time I had heard about Jesus and in Christianity. But yeah, being a teenager, it was a bit tough for me. I was a bit stubborn, didn't really want much to do with it, to be honest.
You don't sound like a teenager, normal teenager.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, so that was pretty much my first encounter with with Christianity anyway, with God. Yeah.
Cool. So when was the time like when you heard about him and realized, oh man, that he is God, or what was it?
Yeah, so pretty much it wasn't until I left school. I was with my now wife, girlfriend at the time. We had we were married, we had a couple kids, and then from there I just ended up getting this big, so we weren't going to church at all either. Didn't want anything to do with Christianity, because we had my parents saying, come to church. Her parents come to church, because she was a heavy Catholic. And then, so we were just like, nah, we believe in God. That's good enough for us. We're done. But then it was actually the night we had that chat, and we realized, and we had the chat and said that we're going to do our own thing. We actually, the next night, I had a really bad thought, basically, that just rocked me over one of my kids, and who was only a 1 month old, and it just rocked me. But for some reason, it felt like it wasn't so much a voice in my head, but it was like such a strong voice that such a strong thought that I was like, what is this? And when not knowing at the time, but it was that demonic voice speaking into me, telling me to do something or to think a certain way. And the devil's selfish as well, so I opened that door a little bit, thinking about it too much, and he slammed the door right open and came rushing in. And so from there, it just made me question myself as a parent, as a husband. It literally just spiraled my mind, and I just went into this massive mental breakdown. I was bad, and I was anxious all the time. I was scared. I was nervous. I was just going through some mad stress. It caused me to the point to get suicidal, and I tried to commit suicide one time, but then for some reason I was like, no, I can't do this. There's just a strong urge not to do it, and so I thought, and it messed me up so much more. I was like, so what do I do? So then I ended up going to talk to my parents, and I said, I want to go to church for the first time. I just had this feeling to go to church. So I went and talked to them, and Dad took me to church on a Sunday night, and we were standing there in the service. It was just in the praise and worship at the start, and all of a sudden, just boom, I started speaking in tongues. And I knew what speaking in tongues was. Like, I'd heard of it, and to be honest, at that time, not being a Christian, it freaked me out. It was crazy to me, and but I started doing it, and it happened, and I felt peace. I felt warmth. I felt, for the first time in months, I felt peace, and I was like, what is this? So I had an actual encounter with God, and then I chased after that, and I was like, what is this? I need more. And so I spoke to the pastor, and I did some research. I started reading a little bit, but I didn't seek that, have that. It wasn't like a click like that. I went back into it. I went back into the debt of myself, questioning everything. And it wasn't until I hit the point of having, I had a thought come over me that was to question my sexuality. And I thought, when I had that thought, I was like, this is crazy. I said, at the time, I had 3 kids. I was like, I've got 3 kids, I'm married. I've never had anything like that before. Like, this is crazy. And so I thought, nah, you know what? I'm going to prove this wrong. And so I thought I could build a spiritual battle with a physical act. And it made me bring in an old addiction that I had, pornography, and I brought that back into my marriage. And that wasn't a good thing to do. It caused me to take my focus away further from God and further from my wife. And and it from there it just it went on for a while. I was treating, there was times where I did come back to God and I was like, but I treated it like such a band-aid as well. That just kept, I'd go to church, get a band-aid, but then something would happen and the band-aid would fall off, so I'd get needed again, and so, but then I hit a point where I needed to confess everything. I couldn't do it. And there was one night we were laying in bed, my wife was actually complimenting me, saying like, oh, you're a loving husband, you're this, you're that, and I just had this wave of anxiety and guilt, and I was like, nah. I said to her, no, I'm not. I said, this is it. And then I thought, this is it, it's got to come out, I'm done. So I confessed everything to her, everything that I'd done in our whole relationship, everything. And I confessed it to her, I confessed it to God, and through it caused me so much stress doing it, because I was so worried that she was going to leave me, and all this was going to happen, that word was going to get out, and I was going to be seen as this weird person as well, like so much, and all these things, still thinking about myself really. But then through it, she was so understanding. She actually went and spoke to a pastor, and she turned to God, and then we both turned to God, and we both had this from it. We just talked about it, we came through it, we're so much stronger now from it, and we've been on such a on this path now of just, I've fully put all that behind me. I don't need it anymore, and I can say that it's been 3 years now since watching anything or doing any of that filth, and now my wife and I, we've strengthened our marriage. We've put God at the foundation of our marriage, and so we've just growing together in our faith. And then, but still being hot and cold Christians. We weren't fully committed to God. We didn't fully give our hearts to the Lord. And I'll say that I became a Christian at when I was 21, but it wasn't really till I was 25 that I gave my heart to God. And I went down it was through my older brother Bryden doing a Bible course through Fire Church, and he went down to Sunny Coast to get his graduation certificate. I thought I'd just be a supportive brother, go down, watch, didn't think anything would come out of it, but I actually being in the service, I saw everyone just so free, just worshiping God, and I was like, wow, these people love Jesus. I was like, this is Christianity. I'd never seen it like this before. And so from there, it just put this, I don't know, the seed in me, this spark, and I was like so hungry for it. But I was hungrier than I'd ever been before. And so then I went after it, and I was like, okay, what is this? I took it back to my wife back in Rocky, and I was like, this happened, like this, let's do this. And she was just all on board too. So we actually went after the Lord. Bryden started doing a home group at Housefire in Rocky. We went along, we just started learning more, seeking God more, and just saw so much growth. And from that growth, we've just been able to have such a greater understanding of, well, we really gave our hearts to God, and we let God have his way with us, really. And so we were able to have a greater understanding of everything that we have done, everything that I did. That's not who I am. That's who I was, and who I was and what I did died on the cross. And when I chose to say to God, I live for you, I choose you, Jesus. So all that was hung up on the cross. My guilt as well, and nothing needs to hold me back. And so then when I did that, when I had that realization, it was such a weight lifted. And now knowing that I can just fully, in every part of my life, even as a father and as a husband, I can give my all to God. And from that, we have seen growth in our relationship together, my wife and I, as a father.
So good.
We've seen, blessings come financially, because having a young family, and I was an apprentice through most of that time. It was a struggle, and so then also through it, we started getting more confidence in going out and just wanting to share the gospel with people as well. So we started doing outreach. We started doing a homeless feed, the fire feed, and from that we were able to just go out and now just really serving God and serving people, and our life could not be better.
That's awesome, bro. Love it. So glad you found him and choosing to follow him, eh?
Yeah.
Bless you, bro.
Awesome. You too, man.
Cheers.